Hey everybody, so in the last video we talked about what is music, the very basic definition of it. This video I just want to do a quick breakdown of what contemporary orchestral music is because, well, that's what the National Contemporary Orchestra is playing, and sometimes that term contemporary orchestral music can be a little, let's say, off-putting. So let's just jump in real quick and really get down to the heart of what it is the NCO will be performing. So contemporary orchestral music, let's start from the end. As we said in the last video, music in its most simplest form is defined as time plus sound. That's it. That's all you need are those two elements. Now orchestral, that generally refers to the type of instruments being used on stage. We have a mix of everything from the highest pitched woodwinds like the flutes and piccolos all the way down to the lowest brass instruments, trombone and tuba, and then we get into the strings, violins, violas, cellos, and basses. And in the middle of that, we'll also sprinkle in some percussion or timpanis or even a piano. And as composers discover sounds, new instruments are being created, or non-traditional instruments are being rediscovered, we start to see that come into the repertoire or the music being played. So we get stuff like bagpipes, harps, more different percussion instruments, or even my personal favorite, saxophone. And even what's called a prepared piano, which literally means we take a really nice piano and we put things inside the piano so that when the strings are hit and when they vibrate, it makes a different sound. So sometimes they'll put something metal in there, or sometimes they'll put something, maybe a piece of wood, just to get a different kind of timbre, a different kind of sound quality out of the piano. Now, contemporary, which admittedly can be a little tricky depending on how you look at it, but I promise it's not nearly as complicated as you might think. Contemporary can basically mean anything modern. So if it can make a sound by being struck or dropped or thrown or whatever or broken, it's fair game. And sometimes it means leaving our musical instruments behind altogether and going more for those what we call avant-garde methods, the ones that are really out there, let's say, and that is music. It definitely is music. It definitely is a way of conveying a message, particularly when it comes to expressing feelings or emotions. But that's not really what the National Contemporary Orchestra is about. For the NCO, we will always use the standard orchestral instrumentation, woodwinds, brass, strings, percussion, and we may extend those a bit to add different instruments, but we're going to stick with that core instrumentation. The other part of contemporary comes in the idea of the notes being played or sometimes not being played. Now with the traditional repertoire, you have certain notes that are paired together and it sounds nice. But again, as time went on and we discovered new ways to pair notes, we started finding new tonalities and new ideas and new emotions within the music, or new emotions that can be brought out by certain pairings. You know, a funny thing is that at a certain time, way hundreds of years ago, certain note combinations were actually deemed illegal because they just had so much tension or dissonance. And we have that too today. You get that a lot in jazz. You see hear a lot of notes piling up. But in general, as you add more tension, you also get that release. So there is that ebb and flow. So there really is a lot more that can be said with contemporary music when it comes to expressing our emotions or relaying a message from the composer about their viewpoint on a certain situation or event. We actually get a lot of that in the mid-20th century when it came to writing songs about the Vietnam War and what all was happening in that time. So no matter what time of the era it is, there's always something happening and there's always a need for music to help express not only what's happening in the moment, but also to show down the road, years and years into the future, what it was like in that moment. And really, when you want to look back and to know the emotions that were being felt, you go to the music. So in the end, for the National Contemporary Orchestra, when it comes to the tones that we're using, we'll still be using those 12 tones that we've always known and loved. But we're going to add them in different combinations. We're going to add different sounds. So in the music that the National Contemporary Orchestra plays, we always have that core tonality or tonal center that we always come back to. To borrow a quote from Minnesota NPR's show, The Composer's Datebook, all music was once new. So even the stuff that we see as traditional old school music was, again, new at the time, and those sounds were new. And now we see them as wonderful pieces. So when you hear contemporary orchestral music, don't be so quick to turn away or think, oh no, it's going to be really weird. There is some stuff that's weird, but it's actually really cool. And there's a good chance that what you hear from the National Contemporary Orchestra will one day be seen as one of those great masterworks. And that's why the motto for the National Contemporary Orchestra is giving voice to today's composers and tomorrow's masterworks. So I guarantee anything you hear being played by the National Contemporary Orchestra has been chosen specifically because it meets the criteria that we have for our music, for our audiences, and for what we want to help promote in the coming years, decades, even centuries. Thank you again for taking time to watch this video. If you have any questions about contemporary orchestral music or music in general or what this is all about, please leave a comment and we'll have a conversation about it. And please take a moment to follow the National Contemporary Orchestra on all our social media platforms, links to which you can find at linktree/National Contemporary Orchestra. Thank you again for your time. I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day, and we'll see you next time. All right, thanks. Bye-bye.